I don't think that it would be the same movie, and I also don't think it probably would have happened if I hadn't been able to do it.
This is kind of a love letter to, you know?
We get to delight in this anti-hero that we're kind of rooting for.
I started getting death threats.
What is he doing here?
We found your daughter. She's alive.
Be prepared for changes. We have a child therapist that she'll be working with.
4 years is a long time. What she needs right now is her family.
Esther? Sweetheart, it's Mommy.
I just wanted to know, like, when the project first was announced, were you always attached to it?
So I was involved before it was announced, in the sense that, like, I had sat down with David Leslie Johnson, who had written the first one, and he produced this one, and told him that, you know, we should make an Orphan sequel. And he was like, we actually have a prequel script. And it was right after this big story had kind of hit the newsstands about a family in the United States that had adopted a child that they thought was an adult, and they like bought her an apartment and like left. And it was all over Dr. Phil and like all over the world. And I had so many people messaging me, and I was like, you have to take the script out now. So they took the script out, and obviously very quickly the movie started to come together, and Brent signed on to it. And it was really, then it was, you know, I went to Brent's movie premiere for Boy 2 just so I could stand in front of him and be like, look, we can totally make it work.
Welcome home, Esther. We left it just as it was.
It's lovely to be back. I miss my family very much.
Our goal here is helping Esther acclimate back into life within the family unit.
I started reading the script, and it was such a page turner. And then I got to the twist, and I was like, oh wow! I was so impressed, and I'm not expecting it at all. And you know, there's the twist in the first one that now we're in on as the audience. So you're watching this girl who is so convincing, playing a little girl, that she can trick everybody in the movie, but is not tricking the audience. Anyway, it also just my part in it as the mother who's so desperate to heal her family and make this work. It's fun to play a person where you're going like, how much longer is she gonna buy this? Like, how much longer is she gonna be tricked?
I think something's going on with Esther.
Is there anything you want to tell me about your time away?
How's that possible? 4 years ago, she was still drawing stick figures.
Esther's behavior has been so erratic.
What I love was watching you two kind of like interact, and I was wondering, what was it like to kind of build that rapport with each other, and what was it like working together?
I mean, I couldn't imagine anybody else playing this part. It wouldn't have worked without Isabelle. And I'm also really relieved that I didn't have to act opposite an actual child, because that would have been really cruel and horrible, and just too painful for me all around. But it was great to work with Isabelle. It was just remarkable to watch her be convincing as a young girl.
I was so excited to work with Julia on this, and it's funny because Julia, I don't know if I ever said this, but I loved you and Dexter so much. Bringing you into this movie and watching you like take on this like incredible character that's more manipulative in a sense than Esther is at times was just so fun to be sitting across from you and looking in your eyes and being like, oh my gosh, I'm actually terrified right now.
Hello, Mommy. Thank you, Mommy. I know, Mommy.
I did notice some inconsistencies.
What are you getting at?
To me, it felt like a performance.
Was it a daunting task to kind of take this on, because the original film has become such a cult classic in its own right, and you were kind of jumping on to something that was pretty much established within, like, you know, the horror genre community? I was wondering if there was any reservations at all with joining in. And
I mean, I definitely at first was excited to read the script as a fan, but not. I was honest with them. I was like, I'm probably not going to do this movie, because I'm like, you have a lot to live up to with the twist. and how, you know, how do you replace Isabelle Fuhrman? Like it's not really, but then when I read it, I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is cool. This is really cool. And then it became about Isabelle. And, but I'll say that, like, I've never experienced anything like, as soon as the movie was made public that we were doing it, I started getting death threats and, like, you know, yeah, super fans, you know. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. Oh, right. Okay. Like, because these people are like, don't fuck with my Esther. This is, you know, Isabelle Fuhrman has to be Esther. Like, that is the only way this movie, you know. And that, you know, that definitely helped push the idea of making sure we used her, you know.
Right.
I mean, and then making sure that in every way that, you know, the movie takes some chances, and of course it's a slightly different angle on the original, which I think is good, because I wouldn't want to just have seen the same film again. But you know, keeping fans in mind the entire time was paramount to the process. It was just like, this is kind of a love letter to Esther, you know, this movie, to Lena. And then with Isabelle being so passionate about wanting to do it as well, it was like, great.
You gotta give.
Mommy, I made it for you.
Take a little. And let your poor heart break a little. That's the story of it. The story of it. The story of it.
She looks believably young, and I know there's, you know, years removed from, like, making that original film and making this. So what was that process like? Whatever you want to kind of give away as far as, like, making sure she maintained her youthful appearance in this film.
I mean, it all kind of started with her being cool with it, you know, and, like, not being self-conscious about it in any way at all, ever. And then nobody else felt it was strange, you know, because she's walking around a foot taller than all of her body doubles. And and then so, you know, once everybody bought into it, it was just a lot of pre-planning with the cinematographer and the production designer and the makeup team, and even you know, wardrobe. Like, every single aspect of the movie had to be done in a slightly different way. It wasn't just as simple as making her big seem smaller. Proportions change as we get older, and even the simplest scenes were a magic trick, you know, because of using forced perspective techniques or different kind of beauty lighting techniques. And she had a different camera setup for every shot we did. She had a different lighting setup for every shot we did. We used different lenses for her, and then the actors had to get used to doing things like, you know, not looking her straight in the face when they're talking to her, because she's actually further away from the camera. And there were a lot of ideas that didn't work, and a lot of ideas that worked better than we expected. And then it just carried on through, you know, to how we finished the movie.
The mother protects her family. No matter what.
That's the story of